Welcome to another episode of the AI Edge podcast. We are here to help marketing and advertising professionals stay on top of AI news and how it impacts the industry. So today we have another special guest with us. His name is David Berkowitz, and I think David has worn many hats throughout his career. You know what? I'm not going to introduce you. You introduce yourself. David, tell us about who you are.
Yeah, longtime marketer, community builder, friend of the marketing and ad industry. So yeah, great to be here, Shiv.
And you have been a CMO, you've been a B2B CMO, you've done some B2C work, you've built a lot of interesting communities, including the AI Marketers Guild. Anything to add to that profile?
Don't forget published author. Okay, everyone's got to read the book, or just
That's
ask
true.
AI about it.
Put the book in AI, tell the AI to summarize it. It is just me and you today. We do not have Miles. We do not have Tamika. It's just the two of us. So let's have some fun, David.
Okay.
Let's start with top headlines of the week. So one big one was that OpenAI kind of announced their ambition to generate over $100 billion of ad revenue by the year 2030, which is ambitious to say the least. I think they said that this year they are on pace to maybe generate $2.5 billion of ad revenue, which is pretty impressive for year one, but also they also have almost 1 billion users globally. So, it makes sense. It tracks. I think a lot of it is also because of, they recently raised a lot of money. And they needed to raise that money. And in order to raise money, they have to have multiple revenue streams. It can't just be a bunch of people paying $20 a month or $100 a month. And so now all of a sudden they're an ad company and they need to tell a good story about that. And I think, a lot of this is about raising funds, increasing their runway, et cetera. There were a couple of other kind of bits and bobs about OpenAI's ad business that came out this past week as well. So one was they're rolling out conversion tracking. So in the past, it was just like, hey, there's no measurement, there's no tracking, just buy ads at $60 CPM and see what happens. And we all knew that they were going to evolve quickly from there because there's only so long, you can only do that for so long. So they're rolling out conversion tracking. There's also some discussion about them moving to a CPC model away from CPM. Another thing that I think people were like up in arms about 2 months ago, like, this is not going to work, $60 CPM. Okay, everybody pump the brakes. They'll probably move to CPC or performance-based pricing soon. Apparently, they are going to do that in the next few months. And then this bit of news, which kind of like snuck under the radar, I found to be fascinating. They're partnering with a company called StackAdapt, which is a kind of like mid-market demand-side platform for more demand, right? And in the past, they've already announced a partnership with Criteo to kind of get demand from more like retail commerce type of advertisers. And they announced a partnership with a company called Smartly to enable kind of like discussion-based and dynamic ads in ChatGPT. So with all of that said, I think we could go a lot of different directions here, but David, I want to get your quick high level take. Like, what does all of this mean for the ad industry, for OpenAI's ad business in general? Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, look, numbers right now. They're going to say whatever the hell they can get away with that they hope doesn't come back to bite them in the ass in a couple of years. If you had asked folks a year ago if they expected Anthropic to have a higher revenue run rate this year than OpenAI, most people would have laughed at you. And so if you had told people even a year ago that Perplexity doesn't even come up in conversation anymore. Obviously people love it. It's a great platform, but people don't take it seriously as a major play. And so much changes so quickly. OpenAI needs to go now and convince shareholders, consumers, and others that they have that staying power. They lost a lot of their lead. And so now it's a much more complicated market. Google is not going to cede it. Now, I'm sure we'll talk about them a bit more in a few. Google, it's so important to see all this stuff in context, right? Because Google can afford to lose like a few of its limbs, and it's still this incredible hydra, right? And so I guess I should say heads in that case. But yeah, there are only so many of these heads or limbs or other body parts that these AI native companies, Anthropic, OpenAI, they don't have the same leeway that Google, Meta, Amazon have. So all this stuff is saying that, like, yes, like OpenAI's revenues are going to increase a lot. There's still plenty of folks who want to buy these ads who can't. They're undoubtedly going to go the way that Google, Alphabet, Meta, Facebook, Amazon did, and make this stuff as self-service as possible and reach millions and millions of advertisers, and not just the handful of folks who even can think about a $60 CPM or whatever the hell the CPCs are going to be. And so there's this opportunity to scale. And once the mom and pops on every block can start tapping into there's going to be a lot of interest. Like
Totally.
people are going to buy platforms that they use, that that their
Yep.
kids are using too, and that their parents are using, right? Like everyone's using this stuff. If you told someone you could spend $100 on ChatGPT today, and you told a million businesses about that, like uh there are a lot of folks who, they'll take out their car. Like, why the hell not, right?
Yeah.
So, but like talking about anything about AI in 2030, like, give me a break.
Yeah, give me a break. Yeah, so much is going to change by that. And I think that, like, you bring up a really, like, a couple of really important points. The first one is, um, first of all, like, I think ChatGPT and OpenAI have kind of constrained their supply by design, right? They don't
Yeah.
want it, like, the ad load to be super high. So one of the things that was in the news about, like, their pilot was, advertisers that are trying to spend the $100,000 or $200,000, whatever the minimum is, they're actually struggling to do it because the supply is so limited.
Mhm.
And they're going to open that up over time, right?
Sure.
That's just an easy variable for them to increase the ad revenue. And they absolutely should. I think the big variable is, and this is, going back to what you're saying about, like, who knows what's going to happen in 2030, even in the last year. If you look at, there's like a chart, there's actually a bunch of charts floating around out there that show that just consumer AI usage, it was so heavily ChatGPT the first few years. In the last year, Anthropic and Gemini are really starting to eat into that share, and the growth has stagnated, right? Like,
Yeah.
ChatGPT growth has stagnated. Now, they could turn it around, right? They could get
Sure.
it back to where it was going before, up and to the right, who knows? But I think it's really important to kind of flag that in order for them to become $100 billion ad business by 2030, they themselves have said they need 2.7 billion users,
Mm-hmm.
and right now they have less than a billion users. So
Mm-hmm.
that would require them to grow. And listen, there's only 7 billion people in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, getting from a billion to 2.75 billion, especially when your growth has started stagnating at this point, is hard, right? And so
Well,
that's the big variable, right? Is like, are they going to be able to continue to grow with users? And, like, a few months ago, they very openly came out and said, we want to focus on enterprise, right?
mhm.
We don't want to do the Sora thing anymore. We don't necessarily want to just, like, push, all of this consumer facing stuff. And so they're going to have to thread those needles, right? Of, like, are we an enterprise business? Are we a consumer facing business? How do we get from a billion to 2.75 billion? And that all is going to, underpin whether they can be a very, very whether they can create the quadropoly of advertising, right? That's
Yeah.
essentially what they want to do. They want to
Sure.
be part of a new quadropoly with Amazon, Google, and Meta.
Mhm. And and then that other X factor is their intent data as strong as as many have talked about
Sure.
right now, and will that continue, right? Because it's like, uh, a- and it's still going to be hard to get there without that massive scale to fully convince folks they've got that better mousetrap. But in a way, it's like, I mean, Google essentially made the case early on that if you're not buying Google, you're leaving money on the table. Yeah.
Right.
There's this express demand for what you have. Like, how would you not want to capture that? And then at some point, it might get cost prohibitive as all the competition comes in. But but there's some degree to which, like, why wouldn't you be in the game, right? And, like,
Yeah.
to make you think you're stupid for not being in that game, right? Like,
Totally.
so, like how well does that case hold up a year from now? And can the can the costs hold up well enough
Yep.
for them while still having the economics to scale? It's a lot. Like it's a hell of a magic trick, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So,
Sam's got a lot of work to do. If you're the marketer, David, like if you're a marketer and you're looking at ChatGPT ads, like what do you make of it? Do you want to jump at it now? Do you want to wait a little while till it's more mature? Like what should a marketer be doing with ChatGPT ads, if anything at all?
well, right now, if you can test it now, why wouldn't
Uh-huh.
you? You know, and if you
Sure.
can
Okay.
test it now, you're at a certain stage where you're further along, and so you yeah, to get in the game, it's going to be more of a rounding error for you. Yeah, and so I'd say learn as much as possible right now.
Okay. Yep.
And also pay a hell of a lot of attention to how that relates to what organic is today in AI results.
Right.
Generative
Right.
engine optimization and whatever the hell you want to call it. But try to see like and look at what happens when ads run, what happens when ads don't. Like
Yep.
where's that? There's still debates 25 years in nearly to this like Google running ads as far as like when to buy or not when your brand is already strong in Google's organic results.
Totally.
And so there's still a mix of art and science there. Uh,
Yep.
like get on that early
Yep.
now. And this is a thing where if you don't even have access to ChatGPT's ads right now, then there are all of these great without me even needing to recommend one, right? Like look up like self-service AI
Yep.
optimization or GEO tool. Look at I mean I like some like Otterly and Passion Fruit, and there are a bunch of ones that are like 20-30 bucks a month for a premium enough version, and test the hell out of this, right? Like so like
Okay.
just like start getting the data, pay attention to how people are interacting with your brand. And also the thing that I think is just so critically important is to if you're not yet pay attention to how folks are interacting with your category when before they've made up their brand preference,
Yep.
or when they're talking about some competitive products there. So this is like look up the non-brand kinds of queries there,
Yep.
and and like this, even whether you only have 5 minutes a day for it or you have like a team that can do this, it's like it's just got to be part of that discipline now. And then you'll be so much more prepared to see like what the heck do you even buy ads for if you could, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, and I love you highlighting kind of the interplay between the organic AI visibility and the tools that are at our disposal now. There's tons of GEO tools. You could vibe code your own GEO tool nowadays, right? And just kind
Seriously.
of like bump that up versus the actual paid ads. I think that's a
Yeah.
really good point. Okay, let's go to the next story. So next story was Meta is set to overtake Google as the largest ad company in the world. And, fascinating. I don't think anyone really talked about this. I mean, they might have seen it coming last year looking at the growth rates. People weren't talking about it. Kind of snuck up on me, to be honest. And a lot of what Meta is kind of attributing their growth in advertising to is AI, right? So using AI to make campaign creation easier, using AI to help marketers build tons and tons of iterations of ad creative, using AI to better optimize the ads, using AI to increase consumer and user engagement, using AI to kind of pick and choose how to increase the ad load, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So all of the ways like Meta has arguably been the best in the world at using AI to augment an advertising business, right?
Yeah.
Better than Google, better than TikTok, better than any of these companies, right? So I think this is interesting. The couple of things I will highlight, Google, even though Google is being overtaken by Meta in ads, uh, Google has done a really interesting job of diversifying its
Yes.
business into areas like cloud and into areas like subscriptions, right? So like YouTube Premium is now this like massively growing revenue stream for
Sure.
Google. And so I think what's been interesting, like at least from my perspective, is Google's traditional ad business has been search, right? And AI heavily disrupts traditional search. And
Mhm.
so maybe by happenstance, or maybe it's Google's genius, like Google saw that happening and they're like, we got to get into some other businesses. Meanwhile, I think they've done a good job of saying like, but we want to be part of the AI disruption too, right? And so
Yes.
they've disrupted their own business by being so aggressive with AI mode and Gemini. And we know that like they're probably slow playing the advertising a little bit in
Mhm.
those environments, right? Like Gemini, for example, doesn't have ads yet. It's coming. AI mode already has ads. But like if Google can successfully kind of make this transition from being the traditional search company to then becoming the AI search company and then
Mhm.
monetize the advertising as effectively, there's no reason why Google can't kind of recapture their throne, right? But in this interim period, Facebook said, "Hey, we're the ad company now," because people like as the other thing to note here is like as AI takes people away from traditional search and makes people's lives, let's say, easier to kind of like find information or do utilitarian type of things,
Mhm.
they're going more into entertainment mode, right? Like I'm spending less time doing BS, like, I have to do my taxes. Well, my agent made that easier, right? Or like,
Mhm.
I got to like sort through all this paperwork. Well, my AI made that easier. Where am I spending my time now? More doom scrolling on Instagram, right? So more ads for Instagram. And so Facebook's like, we're the entertainment company. We'll capitalize on that. And Google's like, well, we got to thread this needle. We're going to diversify revenue streams. And then we'll come back around, right? When we
Mhm.
own AI search, we'll monetize the heck out of that from a performance standpoint as well. It's just going to take us a beat. Anyways, that is my very high level view of like what I think is kind of going on here with this story. But what do
Yeah.
you think?
Well, a few things as well here, and it's also helpful to look at these companies in comparison to each other, right? Like so Meta, first of all, you talk about OpenAI limiting supply. Okay, Meta does the exact opposite, and you even wonder at some point, like, does this backlash materialize, right? Because like if you just go on Facebook or Instagram today, how few posts are from folks you follow? Now, and if
Totally.
it's not a paid recommendation, it's some other algorithmic thing that you do. And like, I mean, I kind of know this internet stuff and that ad business, like, all right. And sometimes I'm just looking at this stuff, especially on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, or Facebook, and more on the Meta properties than anyone else. And it's like, why the hell am I seeing? Like, did I subscribe? Did I get drunk and subscribe to like ABC, like 7, Des Moines? And why is this happening here? Or like, Jimmy's Baking Fest from some like thing that he's like Jimmy bakes scones. I'm like, I don't like scones. There's no way I subscribe to this thing. So all this, it's like Meta's just like shoving stuff down our throats, which I don't know if this is really tenable. Eh? Uh,
Okay.
Google, meanwhile, one of the things I wrote about like literally about 15 years ago uh, uh, was how Google was disrupting itself when it came to mobile search. eh? And so all of a sudden you had smartphones starting to really take off, and you had a much smaller screen where a couple ads uh, on mobile search were generating nearly 100% of the share of voice on that screen. And especially if there was a little bit of content like a map or something like that there, then like one or two links like that was your first page of search results. So and it meant that Google, by getting in there really fast and really really smart, uh, they had this potential to disrupt themselves and to serve fewer ads but maintain that relevance. And who
Mm-hmm.
came out ahead in the long run? Well, they sure did. And there were obviously other winners like Meta. Amazon's done great, so and we've also seen, as I've been reading in these U of Digital newsletters, that overall the rich keep getting richer. Yeah.
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
and so odds are, even if somehow OpenAI cracks this quadropoly approach, then it's going to be more at the expense of like the mid market players, not at the big ones, right? Like
Yeah.
Meta, Alphabet, Amazon, like they're gonna be fine. And
Yeah.
and Google also, it's funny, like you talk about what was conventional wisdom just even like a year ago was like just when Gemini was starting to be taken seriously as a high quality an AI tool. And even when I saw the stuff like people making fun of Bard and all that, I'm like, Google almost invented the age of AI. Like the number of stuff they were
Totally.
doing with all their patents around like image recognition and all these crazy things, all these games you'd play to actually train their machine learning algorithms, like all these things where it would you'd create a picture and it would guess what it is or vice versa. Like Google was making us do the work, right? Like so there was no way that Google was going to totally cede all of this market leadership and just let these other companies take away with it. And so now, even right now, Gemini, like, okay, so wait, where are the ads in this? And like it's actually taking away some of the ad inventory because you see the AI overviews instead of an ad at the top of the page. Google's playing a much longer game here. And then also, kind of to your point, if they become a number two player in the ad industry, it's like they're number one in so many other ways. Like so, YouTube's the top streaming platform now.
Right.
Like
Right.
uh, they like even in the consumer media side,
Yeah.
they I mean Google has I was just looking the other day like Google has 9 billion user plus products and a number of them are multi-billion user when you talk about Chrome and Gmail,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like
Right.
so
Yep.
Alphabet, Google, like they're fine.
Yeah, they're playing chess maybe while everyone else playing, including Meta, might be playing checkers. I think the Google thing that's interesting is um they yeah, I think they're playing a long game. And what you brought up about Meta and like kind of the experience becoming more slop in a way, not, AI slop, regular slop, whatever, scone slop, whatever you want to call it. Um, it's becoming slop and like they are putting all their eggs in that basket, whereas Google is putting their eggs in a lot of other baskets. Google, for the record, is at its peak right now. It's more valuable than it's ever been. It had a
Yeah.
crazy stock run, this year so far. And yeah, I think it continues on that trajectory, right? They want to become AI infra. They want to make chips. They want to own streaming. Like they've got their hands in all the pots. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's go to just quick hits of the week.
Yeah.
So first one, uh, Anthropic launched their latest model. It's called Opus 4.7. And it's funny because like, last week I think we talked about Mythos, and Mythos is like their crazy frontier model, but they can't give it to anybody except for some big companies. And they still won't give that to everybody. But they're like, hey, here's a concession. Here's Opus 4.7. Anyways, Opus 4.7, new model. It's pretty powerful. I've messed around with it and it is better in a lot of different ways. I think the other things with Anthropic, you mentioned it at the top of the pod. They are now apparently worth more than OpenAI on the private market, which is nobody, to your point, would have predicted that, like even 6 months ago, I think.
Yeah.
So that's mind blowing. They also dropped a new product. Today we're recording on Friday. They dropped a new product, I think, called Anthropic, like Design Studio, which now is like, hey, Canva, hey, Figma, hey, Firefly, like just don't worry about any of those products. Like just do it all, do everything in Claude. Build your decks, create your websites, your visual design work, like do it all in Claude. And so they're just sucking up more and more and more of like these enterprise use cases and now design as well. I think that was the one area that Anthropic was kind of a little weak in, was like design and visual. And now they're running after that too. Oh, apparently they're also building chips, or at least they're thinking about building chips. So man, like Anthropic kind of coming out of nowhere and like zooming ahead way ahead what anyone expected. I don't know if you have anything to add to that or anything to opine on there.
Well, I mean, I built my first deck in Anthropic this week, and
Yes, I've been
I
doing that too.
yeah, and I didn't think I would. I didn't think I'd like it. The one thing I actually liked a lot that made up for me like trying to get over my attachment to PowerPoint and Google Slides is I was like, okay, well, how can we make stuff interactive now, right? Like, you know,
Yeah,
and so if this is an HTML based presentation experience, then what can we
yeah,
do that we couldn't do in PowerPoint? Like, so
that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah,
but yeah, this idea, and I think one of the things that should have a lot of these seed and A stage companies getting very nervous is like, yeah, there were a lot of things that I thought 12 months ago that the main AI players would never do themselves because like they just let the specialists handle things like image creation, like video editing, yeah,
yep,
like data analysis, all these kinds of things like that. And now it's like, well, wait, what won't they do? And more importantly, what won't uh people trust them to do?
yeah, yeah,
And it's like
yeah,
like
totally.
the same, yeah, like the same Fortune 500 C-level exec who's going and like and having them like interpret some of their emails and like do some like knowledge management stuff for them and like summarize a big research report for them might also be then going home and updating their blood test results to them, right? Like and
Right.
so all and like using it to then go and like help plan their kid's birthday party. Uh,
Yep.
and now as there are all these specializations, like this is where I lament this too. I don't say this so like, oh, like yeah, like go Anthropic here. It's just in general, there's so much of a potentially dangerous consolidation of power.
Totally. 100%. I think Anthropic, I think one thing they've done really well is they have recognized that people still want to be able to use tools that they're comfortable with.
Mhm.
Like, so for example, your thought about Google Slides and PowerPoint, like when I built my slides the other day, I used Claude, but then Claude went and built my slides in Google Slides, right?
Mhm.
Using Claude Cowork. And so I think they've done that. And like Trade Desk now is talking about how they're going to use Claude as kind of the layer for natural language processing to then have people go into Claude and build their campaigns directly into the Trade Desk. I saw somebody demo some ad tech product, this past week where they just started in Claude, right? It's their kind of AI thing started in just Claude, not even some version of Claude or white label. And so I think like with Google and OpenAI, they've still tried to, they know that connectors are important
Yeah.
and the MCP layer is important, but they haven't been, I think, as successful at like creating this sense of like, okay, well, Claude can tap into everything that you do,
Mhm.
and Claude will still kind of stay in its own lane when
Yeah.
needed and kind of go into the other lanes when needed, right? So I think that's been really interesting. Okay, let's go to the next story. So Hightouch, who is
Mhm.
actually the sponsor of our AI Accelerator in May. Please sign up for AI Accelerator. Enrollment's still open. Seats are filling up fast. Hightouch, which was originally known as like a CDP, right? A customer data platform, manages all your data, helps you kind of manage orchestration across all your marketing activities. They so first of all, they announced they are over $100 million of ARR. Great, congrats to our friends at Hightouch. But
Mhm.
number two, I found this really interesting. They launched a new product called Ad Studio, which is pretty simple, right? It allows you to build ad creative on the fly using natural language processing, using your templates, your branding guidelines, and then using your data. And
Mhm.
the reason I think this is really interesting is because, I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. I think there's this massive land grab. I think we've talked about it on the podcast in the past too, right? Where it's like every company, AI gives every company the opportunity to be everything, right? And because that is happening, every company is now running at all of these different types of use cases and opportunities and saying, wait, no, like we used to be a data company. Now we're a creative company too, right? Or we used to be like a cloud company and now we're your media activation company too. And I think this is like this massive land grab. It's going to be really interesting over the next few years to see who is able to actually successfully do that, what actually sticks and what doesn't. I mean, a lot of these like AI generated kind of products that these companies are launching are probably going to wither away, right? Because they didn't quite nail the go to market,
Yeah.
like the fit, the product market fit, et cetera. And so I just think it's fascinating. Again, we're rooting for our friends at Hightouch to make the ad studio thing successful. It's just so interesting to see a traditional, like a data platform go
Yeah.
hard at creative, you know?
Yeah. That's exciting.
Yes, definitely exciting. Last, well, this one's a fun one for the listeners. Our friends, Allbirds sneaker company. Everybody knows them as a sneaker company. They went public. I want to say like 5 years ago ish. I think they IPO'd at like a $4 billion valuation. Ever since then, it's been a huge kind of downward spiral. And so they basically went bankrupt, I want to say earlier this year, maybe, or last year. They basically ended up at like a $39 million valuation. They went bankrupt, and then apparently they bought the company back or something. I don't know the exact mechanics of it. But then last week, they came out and said Allbirds is rebranding into a new brand. We're now going to be called New Birds AI, and we are going to basically buy like $50 million worth of chips and be an AI compute infrastructure company. And then the stock, which was basically a penny stock, spiked like 600% or something and went up to like 15 bucks. It's back down a little bit now. It's like down to 10 or 9 or something. Basically, like it's meme stocking right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I guess if your sneaker company can become an AI infrastructure company, like so can you and I, David. Like, should we just start an AI infrastructure company? Like, should we
Let's
turn
do
this
it.
podcast into AI infrastructure?
Wait, you haven't done that yet? I'm like,
I mean, we're
I'm
doing it
ready to
right now. It's
rent.
happening. It's happening right now.
Okay. Nice. I mean, just get Claude Co-work to do it and file the paperwork
Yeah.
and we're done. Like you don't have to do a damn thing.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's interesting. It's ridiculous and interesting. You know.
I, I, I have at least, I'm looking at my shoe rack now. I have like at least a dozen pairs of their shoes. And I'm like, now I'm already thinking like this, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, I've got to go find alternatives because, I don't know if my models are going to be supported
Oh,
anymore.
yeah. Well, I think there was a lot of fun memes on social media about this. One that was funny was basically it showed like Nvidia turning itself into a sneaker company and just like selling sneakers. It's like, everyone can do everything. Back to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Everyone is everything in the AI era, right? Am I
Yeah.
right? There you go.
Hmm.
Okay, that concludes our news segment for the week. So, David, I want to hear more about your work. So, again, you're CMO. You build community with marketers. You're probably like constantly talking to marketers from all walks of the industry about what they're doing, right? What their work looks like today, how it's changing, what they're seeing as like kind of trending up versus trending down. Where are there hidden pockets of opportunity in this kind of massive time of change with AI? And so I don't know exactly where to start. I'm going to just pose all of those things to you. Like, where do you want to start? I think the listeners would want to hear about, some of what you're hearing in the market.
Yeah, well, I mean, with AI Marketers Guild, as part of architecture, I get to bring on speakers every week, and it's like some of my own university that I get to draw from beyond U of Digital, and so much of it. I mean, like when people who are joining these live streams and very participatory, like I see them lighting up when it's just like any real world use case, anything like, oh, I didn't know you could do that with that, right? Yeah, and like I'm sure that there are some listeners today who are saying, wait a second, like you can use Claude Cowork to go and actually create the Google Slides. Like I'm going to do that probably while they're listening to this right now. They've just tuned
Totally.
me out, but that's awesome. Like that's what everyone should be doing right now, and finding those hooks of what can you do today. And this is one of the most amazing things about this Gen AI era from the start, that you can go and just try stuff out yourself. You can do things from privacy in your own home. You don't need all these followers. You don't need all of this so-called compute, right? Yeah, it's just like for like $20, you can go and start building something. You can do something really rough and tumble for free. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, and so ultimately, I mean, I think that we're still in this adolescence phase.
Yep.
And just like there's so much that we're trying to figure out on the ad side of the business, there's so much even in terms of the results and what is this really doing? What does it mean? You still see on any of these reports about metrics and AI, you still see time savings come up, uh, at the top. And then it's a question of, okay, well, what are you doing about that, right? Like, if you are the business owner, or if you're someone else who's then reporting this to the CFO, the COO, then how is that shift in the business? Are you then more productive? Are you changing how you hire? Is your team just happier at work? And like, is there one of these kind of like, unexpected, unintended consequences where it's where people finally have some of the tools they've needed to do their job, and now actually want to stick around anywhere that's supporting this rather than
Yeah.
fighting this wave. Like,
Yep.
so there are all kinds of consequences of this that we haven't quite figured out yet. Um, but I think ultimately it's like, how do we go from press releases like last summer, for instance? I loved how Walmart was going out there and saying, like, before almost anyone was even talking about agents, Walmart was going out and saying, we've got super agents. Okay. Which is now a term that other AI companies are using, and it's hardly like that original, but it's just so funny when like no one even knew. And I do think that they were calling their super agents like they had like glorified chat bots that they're like,
Yep.
yeah, now meet Wally. It wasn't Wally. I can't remember like which name is which anymore, but let's say it's Wally. Meet Wally, the Walmart super agent.
Sparky. Sparky.
Sparky. Okay. And so it's like you're just, asking it where your order is. And yeah, but like, sure, why not? But like, hey, it's great branding, but
Yep.
now
Yep.
going from that, when you could get away with, calling your chatbot a super agent in a press release and getting, Business Insider do a feature story on you. Now it's like, okay, wait, what the hell does this thing actually do? And how is this going to help your suppliers, your consumers, your customers, like anyone?
So what's your advice to marketers on that, right? Because yeah, I think there's like so much confusion and a lack of education where you could slap some kind of new term on anything and claim like it's innovation, claim you're doing something unique with AI, and that could be really interesting and valuable for your business. But also, it could be a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like, do you have any advice for, especially like tech marketers or B2B marketers? Like, should they run at that opportunity, or is it kind of like situational? Like, any advice for folks on that?
Well, I mean, great marketing is great marketing. So if you can like get away with something and still have it credible and true to your brand, yeah, by all means, there's still a lot of this white space to claim. But I mean, it's like we've seen in any of these eras with a lot of innovation, whether it's mobile and social and to Web3, a lot of it which was smoke and mirrors. Then it's now getting into this. Well, you're dealing with a savvier audience, right? Like that.
Sure.
Even that reporter from Business Insider who might not have known what. No offense, but I'm talking about like anyone, right? Like who
Yeah,
might not have known as much as what you
yeah.
were talking about a year ago is now like building apps on Claude Code, and like they've got their own agents, and they've got a lot of their own opinions on like when it should and shouldn't work in their workflow. I mean, the same thing with a lot of your customers, your consumers. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just also very funny because there's so much publicity. We saw this to some degree during the Super Bowl, and we'll see many waves of this coming up, of this like anti-AI, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and it goes to some of that, like, the it goes back to something like the Dove Real Beauty, right? Like, we're not, to some of those fashion brands who are like, we're not retouching our models, we're showing the real thing. And now,
Hmm.
and so now you see a lot of these companies taking this anti-AI stance. I would love to see a report on companies like that, and but then how they're using AI internally. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That'd be,
And
yeah.
it's
It's like,
like,
hey, talking out of both sides of your mouth, right?
yeah, it's like, come on, like, tell me you didn't use AI to find the influencers who are promoting that campaign
Non
about you
anti
not
AI.
using
Yeah.
influencers. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. No, that's fascinating. Okay. Last question for you, David. So you mentioned when we kicked off this segment that it's all about very specific use cases, right? So
Yeah.
you've been in these like community discussions and webinars and what have you, where like people really light up when they
Mhm.
see like a thing that really works and solves a very specific problem. Are there any interesting or novel things that you have seen in those discussions that you can kind of impart to our listeners? Like, hey, go do this right now for marketing with AI. It'll blow your mind. Anything there to cite?
I mean, the handful of areas that I think are most practical really quickly. I mean, what
Mhm.
one is, if you haven't vibe coded something yet, like, just go and
Go do
do
it.
this. Use Claude, use Lovable, like use one of these tools, even just like get a free version of it. Just like try to build something by talking to it, by texting with it. Like that is, like, you see, just neurons start
Yeah,
firing
yeah.
on all
Well,
levels.
okay, hold on. If I'm a marketer
Mhm.
and I don't even know where to start, like, oh, I've never coded, I've never built anything. You've done it, and you've been a marketer. Like, give people an idea. Like, what should they go build? What can they go build?
Yeah, just try something like a landing page for some, like, hypothetical version of a product, right? Like, don't give it your
Great,
secret product
love it.
information.
Yep.
But just say, like, I'm launching this new product or service. It could be
Yep.
as totally fictional, right? Like, but something, especially what I recommend is try something that doesn't so clearly exist in the real world right now. Just like,
Yeah.
have a little bit of fun with it. And so, but then the other side of it that I think is kind of trippy though, and I've shown this to someone, like there was a financial services company that was like, should I really like be spending 10K with my developer to go and like rebuild our brochure site? And while I'm talking to them, I just tell one of these vibe coding apps, like, go and rebuild their site, and make it better. I even said, add a landing page for what they're going to be doing at the Cannes Lions, right? Like, I didn't give them any information. And it made a beautiful Cannes Lion event page that they
Amazing.
didn't even have before,
Yeah.
and you see also this, like, wait, it's like, wait, what was I just going to pay someone for? And so
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of that peace of mind. But yeah, I'd say that's a big one right now.
I love that. Yeah, and like one thing I've been kind of messing around with is creating some kind of like landing page or website. To your point, you made this point earlier, that's interactive in
Yeah.
some way because that's the power of AI, right? And even like when you're working with a developer, developers can make static web pages, but like creating interactivity on a web page is traditionally has been a little harder. AI is fantastic at that, right? Like so, just for you of digital, we're trying to build kind of like the right tool to help people benchmark where their AI literacy is for
Mhm.
their organization. So like, hey, answer a few questions, and then we'll make a recommendation to you or, that kind of thing where you could create an interactivity with your customer beyond just
Yep.
like, here's what we do, here's who we are. Try vibe coding that. Hey,
Well,
listeners, go vibe code it.
and, and as soon as you reach any kind of stopping point, it could be after one or two prompts, or it could be after 50 of them. But my favorite thing that I do all the time is I'll say to one of these vibe coding apps, okay, what do we do next? Yeah.
Yeah, ask it. Yeah, that's
Like,
a good idea.
and it is, it's pretty wild, right? And sometimes I'll be like, okay, like, say you were, especially if I'm taking an existing idea, be like, say you were doing this totally from scratch, like, what would you do?
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
and then you realize you essentially have this kind of like development partner, and
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. That's so
but
powerful.
but then it opens up more ideas, because it's like you're not going to know what the limitations are, and you're not going to know what some of the opportunities are. And so especially if you're now like, leaning forward with this, then
Yep.
then the thing I really like about this is not like I'm just like outsourcing all this stuff, is it's forcing me to use different parts of my brain and allowing me to go and create things that I would have just, like, if I handed this stuff off to a developer, I would have just said, go and do this to my specs. I wouldn't be uh, tinkering with every last thing and just like being like,
Right.
hey, if you could build anything in the world. I'm like, well, I can't pay you to build anything in the world right now.
Right. Right. But you can ask Gemini to build almost anything in the world, or Claude Code or
And
whatever.
see what
Right.
happens, right?
Yeah. Or run into your tokens limit. That'd be a good problem to
Exactly.
have. Awesome. Okay. Well, hey, David, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much. This was a fantastic conversation. Who needs Miles? I don't need Miles.
Yeah, come on.
He's expendable. I'm kidding, Miles. I miss you. David, thank you so much. You were a fantastic guest. Learned a ton from you. For the listeners, please go register for the AI Accelerator. The May run is still open. Use code Early Birds Learn AI for 20% off. It's sponsored by Hightouch, so they're going to be doing some cool stuff in the actual accelerator themselves as well. And thank you for listening. We'll see you, or we'll have you listen to us again next week. Thanks.